Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So it's time for us to do our Convincing My Bestie series. This is where one of us convinces the other to read in a trope that they don't normally choose for themselves, or it can be like a trope that you guys really wanted to see that one of us reads more of than the other. So today, Mandy is convincing me to read something.
Yes. Yeehaw! We're going back to Cowboys. And this isn't necessarily a trope I read more than you. This is just what the subscribers voted on. So,
Yeehaw.
yeah.
Howdy, partner. Let's do this.
Okay.
Okay, but before we get started with that,
make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on all the fun that we have here. And you also want to be entered to win these books right here. We are giving those away when we reach 1,500 subscribers. So tell your friends to come join in on the fun too.
All right. Okay.
Are you ready?
I mean, does this bring back all the memories of being at FFA State, though, when Cowboy stuff?
I never even thought of that, but sure.
I do, because Cowboys wear Wranglers, and that's where the saying, it was before you came along, but Wrangler butts drive me nuts came into play, was at FFA State with all the Wranglers. Our teacher brought that up. We had a female teacher.
I never had any sort of crush on anyone when we were at FFA.
No, there was no crushes. We would walk uphill to get to the auditorium area, and all the Wranglers' butts were in front. There was no crush. It was just looking. Just saying.
Jessica and I have very different recounts of what happened in high school.
Mandy can barely remember high school.
All right, can we get started?
Yes, I'm waiting for you to start.
Okay, first up, book number 1 that I have for you is Stay With Me by Brooke Montgomery. This is part of her Sugarland Creek series. We all read the first one back in late fall for a buddy read. So this is the second book. Yes, you can read it as a standalone. Okay, so this is Magnolia and Trip. And before I talk about this book, I just want to point out there is an author's note that you should go check out because there is some sensitive subject matter in here. So just a warning to check that first. So we have Magnolia, who has been in love with Trip forever. And Trip is her best friend's brother. Trip talks to her and all of that. Like, it's not like he ignores her, but he has shown very little interest in her. And so this has left her kind of frustrated. And so she dates Travis. And she's had an on-again, off-again relationship with Travis for some time. Travis is like what you would call a douche canoe.
Mm-hmm.
And she needs to move on. But you know how those things go. Yeah. So her and Travis had this on-again, off-again relationship. And at the end of the book, the first book, we see a glimpse of her finding out that she is pregnant with Travis's baby right after Trip finally admits that he actually really has a thing for her. And so, oh my gosh, what happens then?
Right.
Her and Travis are not together. She's finally ready to completely move on from him when she finds out that she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Book number 2 that I have for you is Tempting Promises by Corinne Michaels. This is actually number 3 in the Whitlock family as of this recording, because we have to record a little bit early on this so we can read the books. But as of this recording, I've just started the first book in this series and I'm loving it. So I feel like this is a good series, but you don't have to read them in order. You can read them out of order. So this is book 3 and it follows the Whitlock family. Isn't that interesting? So we have Rowan and Charlotte. So Rowan, I'm looking at my notes so I can say this right. Rowan is Charlotte's sister's ex.
Okay.
He's like a man whore. He has no problem admitting that he doesn't want to settle down. And he feels like he's always very honest with women about this. But Charlotte's sister, it did not go down well between them. So they are dairy farmers and they are after the same milk contract. And Rowan has a little more efficient farm, but Charlotte is like desperately trying to save her family's farm. And if she doesn't get this contract, she's going to lose the family farm. So it's like really important to her that she gets this. So they're like kind of like enemies to lovers type thing. Well, she doesn't do a lot on her own. And like she's just solely focused on this farm. And so she has a friend who finally talks her into going on this weekend hiking trip and staying up at a cabin. So she agrees to go. And guess who also was invited on this trip? Rowan. So she goes out hiking by herself. There's a freak snowstorm, and Rowan ends up finding her, and they end up stranded together. So, you know, when you're stranded together, what else is there to do? But how does this play out once they're no longer stranded together? Because her sister really does not like Rowan. And she also wants the milk contract. So good. I feel like I made it sound corny and I didn't mean to. It's really good. So if I made that sound corny, I apologize.
And you know, I've read the first book in the series.
You did?
I did. I read it after we got back from Vegas.
Oh. Mm-hmm. When I was talking about it, you told me you hadn't read it.
I don't remember that conversation. I've read so many of
His little girl is deaf?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I've talked to you about it when I read this. And you're like, oh, that sounds good.
See, but that's the thing. You remember the names of books. I just typically remember what they're about. And obviously in that situation, I didn't. My kids like to slam doors. But I did read this right after we got back, the first book in the series. And I really liked it. But I read so many Corinne Michaels that like, yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay.
So there's that one.
Got it.
Again, it's not corny. I don't know why it came out sounding corny when I'm talking about the milk contract and stuff. He's a farmer, cowboy. He rides his horse around his farm.
I worked on a dairy farm. I can picture it.
Fantastic.
I babysat for them. I didn't work it. So. Okay.
All right. Next up, I have Rustic Hearts by Amber Kelly. This is book number 1 in the Popular Falls series. So we have Sophia and Braxton. Sophia's mom abruptly took her, like almost kind of like leaving in the middle of the night situation, but it wasn't the middle of the night, abruptly took her away from their family ranch when she was 12 years old and moved them to New York. She kept thinking her dad would come get her, and he never came. Like, just kind of cut her completely out of his life. Like, he stayed at the farm on the ranch, and they went to New York. So we're going to fast forward like to her being in her 30s, and she gets a phone call saying her grandma died. And she has very fond memories of her grandma, but the family just never really reached out to her. And she was 12. Like, you know, that wasn't her job. That was their job. Mm-hmm. So she gets the call, and because she had this fond memories of her grandma and she was left something in the will and they require her to be present for the reading of the will, she goes back. And she kind of hopes like maybe she can finally make some amends with her dad and like figure out why he never came for her. And so she goes back to the ranch and she meets Braxton, who is a cowboy on the ranch, who works on the ranch. But Braxton just sees like this spoiled New Yorker and wants, like, he calls her princess and is just kind of a little ornery with her a little bit. But some secrets start to come out, things begin to unfold, and she starts to feel more at home on the ranch and starts to maybe have a little bit of a thing for Braxton as well. Okay. So I really enjoyed it.
We're going to see this author is going to be in the Rockies?
One of those places we will see her.
Yeah, I read the second book in the series. I liked it.
Yeah.
I haven't read this one, obviously.
Okay. Next up, What number am I on?
Number 4.
4? Okay, good. Okay, next up we have Strong and Steady by Vanessa Vale. So this is a slightly different twist to the whole cowboy scenario. So we have Grayson, who is a cowboy. He wears like you were talking about the Wranglers. This is his outfit is described in detail in this book. And he dresses like a cowboy. And he has a ranch that he lives on like part-time, I guess. Like he has a ranch, but he stays in the city type situation. And he is a fighter. So he's like a retired fighter, but he was famous. And so he runs this gym and helps new and upcoming fighters. And so Emery is an older heroine. She is in her later 30s. Her son just went off to college and she is ready to possibly start dating again. And she hasn't dated since she was with her son's dad for many, many years and they got divorced. And when they got divorced, she just focused on raising her son. So now he is off to college. So she's kind of thinking about getting back out there when she meets Grayson. Now Grayson is kind of like, he's gritty like a cowboy fighter, but he's kind of a little bit of a cinnamon roll hero too. And there's a little bit of insta love for him, and he's determined to help her feel like confident and ready to date again, ready to date him. And so, but there's a problem. Somebody is after both of them. He thinks it's the person after him that's after her, and she is kind of oblivious to what's going on, but random things keep happening, and it does not. This has like major romantic suspense in it. Okay. So cowboy in that one might be more of like the character and a little more of an afterthought. So if you're like really wanting like ranch workings, go with the Corinne Michaels book. Okay. Next, we have, this is a long, it's 2 books that I'm going to recommend. The first book is called Freeing Sully. It is a novella. It is super, super short, but I feel it's very helpful to read it first. Then you read For the Love of Whiskey, which is number 1 in, this is why I need my notes, the Whiskey's Dark Nights at Redemption Ranch series.
That is a mouthful.
Yes.
Okay. And who's the author?
Oh, yes, that would be helpful. Melissa Foster. There was just so much info. I felt like it had to all be out there, right? Okay. So in Freeing Sully, she escapes from the cult that she has grown up in. I loved the novella. Like, it was really good. It could have been like 5 times longer, documenting like her getting out of there. It was really good. So you really kind of understand her character and where she's coming from, which helps make the next book make sense. So I would highly recommend reading Freeing Sully before you start this. And again, super short. So in this book, we have Sully who has escaped and she's with the people who found her. And they take her to the ranch. And the ranch is run by this family, and they do ranch like things there, but they also take in people who have had addictions and struggles and things and help them get their lives back together. And so that's why Sully goes there. And while she's there, she meets Calhoun, who is also called Cowboy. And he is also in an MC, but they do like nice things for people. So it's more of a Toys for Tots feel, but they're not afraid to rough people up either. Okay. Does that make sense? So nothing really on page MC that you would expect from like a gritty MC. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So she is there. She is terrified of finding out, like of having the cult leader find out where she is and coming to get her. So she's a little skittish. She's a little different, because she grew up in a cult. But there's also a mystery going on here. So we also have romantic suspense. And I won't talk any more about that because I don't want to give anything away. So we have that. Okay. Then we have, this is my favorite recommendation on this. And again, this hero is a true rancher. Why are you smirking? I'm not. We have All My Love by Daisy Jane. So in here we have Hudson, who is a true cowboy rancher. He rides his horse every day out to take care of the cattle. He has a farmer's market that he hosts at his place. I mean, like you can't get more cowboy, I don't think, than Hudson out of, especially out of these recommendations. So if you're looking for straight up cowboy, this is the place to be. But we have Dolly, who lives next door to him. Dolly is younger than Hudson. Hudson I think he's like 4. His name is Bear, his son. And Dolly babysits Bear and has like a really adorable relationship because they live next door. And she just turned 20, so she feels like now is the time that Hudson is going to realize they are meant to be together. They are soulmates. She is 100% convinced of this. She's also extremely unhinged and does like very stalkerish behavior things. If we read about some of the stuff she did in real life, we'd be like, ooh, she needs to be locked up. In this book, though, we love her and we relate and understand how she justifies everything she's doing because he is her soulmate and she simply needs the information and knowledge to make their lives better once they're finally together. It will be seamless because she already knows what he likes and how he does things. So there's nothing wrong with her sneaking into his house and smelling his laundry and doing all sorts of other crazy stuff.
Farmer's laundry.
But I love, well, you need to read the book.
Cow pies?
I can't, nope, it's not that kind of laundry she's smelling.
Oh.
So anyway, she has a really adorable relationship with his son because she watches his son, for him when he's like doing ranch things that when his sister is not available to help him and stuff. And she has a great relationship with him. And she actually talks about how she would never use that relationship to try and gain favor with Hudson. Like she adores the little boy. And so I really love that he was never used as a pawn and that his relationship was extremely important to Dolly as well as to Hudson. So wonderful cowboy in here and a very unhinged stalker that we can all relate to. In some way, you can relate to Dolly and understand where she's coming from.
Your teenage self, yeah.
That is my 6 recommendations for Cowboy right now.
Okay.
And I will say I did not have I had a couple of dud cowboys that I didn't put in this, but I didn't have really anything extra. The only thing extra that I could have thrown in here, but you've already read it, would have been like Elsie Silver's series. So I don't typically read a lot of cowboys. So before you pick, people in the comments, if there's some good cowboy books that I've missed, put them in the comments so I know to read them.
I think my favorite cowboys are Pam Godwin's Dark Cowboys.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, I have to put in cowboys in here that you haven't read.
I know. I'm just saying.
For the series.
My favorite.
Yes. Okay. So
I think
6 choices. What are you gonna pick? Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun.
I know. Why do you have to make it so hard? I think I'm gonna go with the Corinne Michaels with Tempting Promises. Being on a dairy farm for me, like that brings back memories from when we were young, and being snowed in and stranded, like that's right up my alley. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. You won't be disappointed.
Probably not. Corinne Michaels normally does a really good job for me. I think there's only ever been one book where I was like, but everything else has been great.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll check back shortly to see how you liked it.
All right.
Okay, Jessica. What did you think?
I really, really liked it. I gave it like 4 stars. I might be like 4.5. I love Corinne Michaels. Do you want to know what my favorite part was?
Yes.
When the guys
as long as it's not a spoiler.
No, it's the guys on the walkie-talkies and their nicknames for each other. Oh, yes. That was those. I'm not gonna say them because I want everybody to like get that when they say it. Like you have to hear it. Those were the best nicknames. I walked outside and I referred to my husband as one of the names, and he was like, "What is wrong with you? He didn't respond appropriately, but loved it.
I love when authors do that and there's banter between the characters because it just makes it so much more authentic. Like this is truly how people behave in the real world. So it's fun to see that happen when there's like a little bit of light comedy in it that just is natural.
Yeah. And like when our heroine gets injured, they're in the cabin, right? And she has to go to the bathroom really bad. They can't go very far because of the ice. Like I've been in Alaska when you had ice storms and you can't move. You can't go anywhere. You're in a home, hopefully, with a toilet. Hopefully. She wasn't. And the whole sit on the rail and I'll help you go. I was like, oh, been there, done that. Like, I could relate to so much in this book.
Yeah, I've had to pee out in the woods more than once. Not during a snowstorm, but just having to is not fun.
No, my dad was a logger. We were taught how to pee in the woods from the get-go.
I grew up in the woods.
Grew up in the woods too. We all know how to do it. Or both of us know how to do it anyway.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, I kind of like being able to clean afterwards and you know, but if I have to.
All right.
Okay.
That was TMI.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So, okay. I really did. I enjoyed this one. Definitely go read it. I love Corinne Michaels. Now I have to go back and read the second book because this was the third book in her Whitlock series. I need to read the second one, which is the one in the middle because I've read the first and the third. But Me
too.
Yeah. I do love Corinne Michaels a lot. Yes. So it's always a good palate cleanser. It's always a good time. It's always easy to listen to.
Her audio, yes, is always really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like to do audiobooks.
Yes, which I do.
I know.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's it for Cowboys.
All right. Make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us and have your notifications turned on because we love to drop surprise videos.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.